A wealth tax sounds fair, but it's fragile, and if we're not careful, it could make inequality worse. Don't get me wrong, historically, wealth taxes have done good things. They've funded schools, hospitals, and public infrastructure. For a while, they have helped to reduce inequality, but these gains are never secure. Every election can undo them. A new government rewrites the rules, lowers the rates, or just removes them entirely. Redistribution of wealth through the process of taxation depends on which government happens to be in power at the time, instead of citizens themselves having real ownership or control over the economy. Even when taxes exist, the wealthiest rarely feel them. They use loopholes, offshore accounts, and even political infrastructure to shield their wealth. In some cases, even writing the very rules that protect them. So while ordinary people pay taxes consistently, the ultra wealthy move money faster than the government can catch it. In the 1940s and 50s, when taxes were higher, this was harder to do. Under Roosevelt in the United States and Attlee in post-war Britain, financial rules and capital restrictions made it difficult to hide wealth abroad. And here's the other risk that people aren't thinking about. When governments talk about closing loopholes, what they often mean is expanding surveillance. We expect accountability at the top, but what we get is data collection on everybody else. Look at digital IDs framed as anti-fraud tools. Sole traders are now having to report income more frequently under making tax digital. Private platforms are now sharing your user data with tax agencies. And when I say user data, I mean your conversations, the conversations you're having online with people, all under the banner of compliance. Instead of tackling the ultra rich, governments tighten controls on smaller earners. As you might have guessed, this has nothing to do with fairness. This is about who and what they can reach. Now consider this. Imagine you're sitting on tens of millions and a new wealth tax is introduced, 1 or 2% on everything above 10 million. For you, that's an expense. That's not a loss you can't recover. So you buy another property, another business, or more shares that will grow faster than the tax takes. Now imagine thousands of people doing that at once. Suddenly the price of assets rises. Housing, land, and even basic utilities become more expensive. Now in theory, you could slow this down with rules that stop property or company shares being bought purely for speculation, or by limiting how fast large sums can move in and out of markets. But even then, there's a line. Most people, myself included, don't want a government to tell us how to spend or invest our money. That level of control starts to look like the state picking winners and losers, or worse, like economic surveillance. And that's not what this is about. The goal isn't a bigger state, it's a fairer system. More democracy, not more control. The idea is to trust people, workers, consumers, communities, to take ownership and make decisions collectively, not to hand more power to a government that already struggles to represent us. Without that kind of democratic balance, a modest wealth tax doesn't change that behaviour. Now, there was a time when wealth taxes worked in the US under Franklin D. Roosevelt and in Britain after the Second World War. The top rates of tax reached 90%. Governments built housing, schools, and transport networks that lifted millions. But make no mistake, that success wasn't about generosity. FDR was backed into a corner by a powerful alliance between trade unions and left-leaning political movements. Union membership was in the millions, and the message was clear: raise taxes on concentrated wealth or face social unrest. Unsurprisingly, those reforms were won, not gifted. The same was true here in Britain. After 1945, strong working class organisation and public support for redistribution made high taxation politically unavoidable. Without that leverage, the welfare state and post-war rebuilding effort would never have taken shape. Since then, that power has been systematically weakened. Union membership was attacked, labour laws rewritten, and collective bargaining undermined. Even the political structures that made reform possible were changed. After Franklin D. Roosevelt's 4-term presidency, that's 12 years, the US introduced a 2-term limit for future presidents, effectively ensuring that no leader could ever stay in office long enough to carry through reforms of that scale again. Today, even if a wealth tax returned, it's unclear if it would reach the people. Much of government spending already flows to the same private networks. Billion-pound contracts, outsourcing, VIP lanes. We saw it during the pandemic. Billions of pounds in public money handed to firms with little accountability. And we're seeing it now with billions pledged to defense expansion and AI investment, while you have unpopular digital ID projects pushed through with no public consent. So the money taken from one hand ends up in another part of the same system. And the assets meant to serve people, water, energy, transport, remain in private hands. Even when the privatization experiment is failing, governments refuse to intervene. Look at the Thames water situation. By early 2025, the company's finances were in crisis. It was burdened by billions in debt and a record 1.6 billion loss. The government had a clear opportunity to step in, place it under special administration, and bring it into public ownership. Instead, it allowed a privately owned monopoly, propped up through subsidies and lenient regulation, to struggle on with a $3 billion emergency bailout. It's clear to see that the losses were socialised and the profits stayed private. That moment revealed the truth because it showed that even a left-wing government wouldn't challenge the ownership model itself, even when it's failing miserably. Even with a sincere left-leaning government, reform is fragile. If results don't appear quickly, media turns hostile, public patience runs out, and the next election reverses everything. Short political cycles and media pressure make long-term change almost impossible in this country and across the world. Wealth taxes can ease the pain, but they can't fix the cause. Redistribution of wealth without ownership of infrastructure still keeps power out of the hands of ordinary people. It treats inequality as a budget issue instead of a structural one. True stability comes when the people who create value also own and govern it. Anything else is temporary.